Hello, everyone, and a warm welcome to all the brokers in charge that are joining us this afternoon. We are so glad that you could set aside some time to be here with us. This webinar is part of our dedicated series that's focused exclusively on you, the leaders of our industry, our brokers in charge. Our goal is to consistently provide a platform for information and resources that help you navigate the challenges that you face and empower your agents that are so important to your business. Thank you for your commitment to your business and your leadership. Just as a reminder, we are recording this session. It will be available later. I believe Brian's also going to make his slides available for us. So we'll include that in a follow-up email to everyone. We'll have a little bit of time for Q&A at the end. So please put your questions into the chat, and I'll do my best to respond to those either as Brian is presenting or at the end of the program. Have you seen the newest broker in charge bulletin email that SCR sent out earlier this week? This email newsletter is going to be sent out monthly. It's designed to help keep you informed of the latest legal news, education, resources, deadlines, and events that help your business, help you plan for the future of your business. And also included in this update were our presentation slides that you can easily drop into your meeting presentations, your sales team meetings, to relay this important news to your agents. I hope that you find it valuable. We've gotten lots of great feedback this week already, and make it part of your regular broker toolkit. Speaking of tools, NAR released its annual member profile report today, and the latest data paints a very clear picture of a shifting landscape for real estate professionals. For members looking toward the future of their careers and income potential, my key takeaways from the report were three things. The experience and specialization gap is going to widen, directly impacting income, meaning, rookies versus seasoned agents is going to continue to show a disparity in earnings and their income. Navigating commission compression, redefining value is going to be critical. This is kind of a recurring theme over the last year, from the settlement fallout. And my last takeaway was adaptability to market volatility is no longer optional, but essential for survival. And it's that last bullet point that makes today's presentation so timely. Realtors have to understand where their clients are, where they're coming from, what their needs are, what their wants are. In addition to being experts in the data, in the bottom line of what's happening in your local markets, being able to predict your future client needs is critical. Today, we're going to focus on sellers as we dive into the selling landscape with Brian from 1000-Watt Consulting. Brian has been in real estate media, marketing, and technology since 1997. Before co-founding 1000-Watt Consulting, Brian served as president of Inman, real estate's leading trade media company, and as CEO of VREO, where he created e-signature and document management software for tablet PCs. Brian has led dozens of companies through complex brand and marketing challenges and leads the 1000 Team Watt daily. Brian, thank you for being with us today and welcome. Turn over the mic to you. Thank you.
Nick, thank you so much for having me. And thanks to all of you for taking a little bit of time out of your day to show up today. And I'm coming to you from humidity-free Oakland, California. And I hope that your summer hasn't been too hot back there. We've had a freakishly cold summer, so I wish it was hotter here on most days. So that's where I'm joining you from, and I'm glad to be here. So thank you, Nick. And what I'm going to do for about the next 30 minutes is to talk to you about making an emotional connection with today's consumers, primarily sellers, but I'm going to give you some insights on buyers as well. And I don't need to tell you what the last few years in this business have been like. We've faced an uncommon amount of change and turbulence. And during that period, as Nick alluded to, we've had to demonstrate value, re-articulate value, change our processes, and deal with a whole lot at the same time that our target clients are consuming lots of new information about the real estate business. They're seeing headlines that are not generally favorable to those of us in the real estate business. And it's just a confusing time, but also an opportunity for all of us in this industry to rethink and reframe how to better connect with and better serve home sellers and buyers. So that's what I'm going to talk to you today. And as Nick said, there are no stupid questions. I'm going to show you just a tiny fraction of some of the work that we've done in this area. And I'm happy to answer any questions or address any thoughts that you may have as well. So I'm going to share my screen here because I have some visuals that I want to show you. And I want to start by making a point that I think you're probably aware of, which is that the best way to connect with somebody, in this case, your company's clients and your agent's clients, the best way to connect with somebody through something like marketing and even at a personal level is at the level of feeling. And we sometimes forget that as we go about running our businesses. So that's sort of the premise that we start from at 1000 Watt, that the best way to do marketing and the best way to communicate your value is by speaking first and foremost to what your target client is feeling. This is a quote from one of the greatest advertising minds of all time, a guy who sort of revolutionized advertising in the 1950s and 60s, Bill Bernbach. And he said, only art can make you feel and only feeling can make you act. And that really guides a lot of the work that we do at 1000 Watt in guiding folks and companies and brands to a place of greater connection in the marketplace. So that's the premise that we start with. And I would say, generally speaking, as an industry, we sort of have a cartoonish notion of what it is to sort of communicate the feeling around a real estate transaction. You know, we see stock photos like this of sort of the cheesy happy move-in day, hearth and home, the realtor handing over keys, that sort of thing. And that's not what I'm talking about. This sort of gets tuned out because this imagery and the language associated with it is used so often that it gets tuned out. What I'm talking about is something that's deeper. And what we do at 1000 Watt as part of our work is we do a lot of listening. We listen to consumers. We listen to the people who are selling, who are buying, who are thinking about selling and buying, who hope to buy a home, who hope to sell a home. And we listen methodically. And we've been doing this for years now. And we do that in a couple of different ways. We conduct focus groups on a regular basis with different segments of the marketplace. Here's me up on the left talking to a group of recent sellers. And we do ongoing survey research. And a lot of that work is trying to get underneath what's going on in the minds of real estate consumers. And we do that so that we can better understand how to connect with them and to serve them. And the whole process really is very straightforward. And as we continue in this market that is characterized by many, many real estate professionals going after not enough home sales, this is how advantage is won and how success as brokerage operators comes, is to connect with more people and to establish a connection with the folks that you want to go out there and do business with. And this process is fairly simple. And I'm oversimplifying here deliberately. The key to building a strong brokerage brand and to do good brokerage marketing is to first and foremost listen. Listen methodically to your customer. And that you may think, well, my customer is the realtor. Yes. But your customer as a customer, and they are in the conversation as well, the consumer. So listen, hear what they have to say, think about what they are telling you. And when you listen to your customer closely, they will more often than not tell you how you should position your brand and what your marketing should be. So if you listen, think about what you're hearing, apply it to your brand positioning and your marketing, then you are able to go out into the marketplace and connect uncommonly well. So it's a pretty straightforward process, and I'm going to show you how that works. So we fielded a study, a nationwide survey of recent home sellers just about 6-8 weeks ago. And we surveyed these folks who had sold a home in the last 5 years. And what we wanted to do, and most of the questions that we asked, were trying to get at what they thought about it and what they felt, even more than what they thought about it, what they were worried about, what they were scared of, what they liked, and what they didn't like in terms of the feeling around the process. So this study revealed some pretty interesting stuff, and I'm going to go through some of our findings here, but then more importantly, I'm going to show you how you take the output of listening to your customer and turn it into marketing that is differentiated from all of the other real estate marketing noise that exists in the marketplace right now. So let's get into some of what we heard. So we started first with asking people about the home. If you're going to sell a home, well, let's first understand how people think about it. And what we came up with was not necessarily surprising, but when you see it presented this way, it has the effect of changing how you approach, how you talk to prospective sellers. So which of the following best describes how you feel about the home you live in or lived in at the time you sold? Only 14% said, well, it's just a house, it's a place to live. Almost a third said, it's my private sanctuary from the stresses of the world. The world is stressful. The home is my sanctuary. And then almost as many said, it's an extension of myself and personality. It's part of who I am. So the first thing to understand when you're communicating to prospective sellers is that you're talking about something that's deeply meaningful and deeply part of an individual's identity. And so in that type of transaction, making sure people feel good and feel that how they feel is recognized is really important. We asked folks about their greatest fears during the process of selling their home. And again, this is pretty predictable. Okay, number one was not getting the price I wanted. Number two was the home would take too long to sell. Major issues discovered during the inspection. Deal falling through at the last minute. You may say, well, okay, I knew that. But what this is telling you here is this is your client saying, this is what you need to build your marketing around. Your marketing should address the fears that sellers have and prospective sellers. Recognize what they're feeling and advance in your marketing, and you're going to make a better connection and take more share in your marketplace. So when we unpack some of these things, like we know people are most worried about getting the price that they want or expect. So we asked folks, and remember, this is during a period over the last 5 years when in most markets, we had a historic seller's market and homes were selling at very high prices. We said, okay, when you sold a home, how did you feel about the final selling price? What's interesting here is that almost a quarter of folks said, yeah, the price did not meet my expectations. And that's during an extraordinarily strong market with high prices. If we move into a strong buyer's market, that number is only going to increase. So if we know that people are scared about this, they worry about the price, and that even during a period of time where conditions favored them, the outcome fell below their expectations, we want to get out ahead of this in our communications and our marketing. We asked folks too about how they thought their realtor prepared them or did not prepare them for emotional challenges or stressors during the transaction. And this was really interesting. So the number one answer was my realtor did not prepare me for the stress of negotiation. So if we know that people view their homes as a sanctuary that's part of their own identity, if somebody comes back and says, listen, your foundation shot, I need a credit for $30,000, that's a personal affront. And to make sure that your clients are prepared for that kind of stress in advance is important. Same thing around inspection anxiety. Oh gosh, what does this report tell me? Is this a big deal? Is it not a big deal? To the extent that you can get ahead of these conversations and then talk proactively about how you mitigate stress and anxiety in the transaction, you're going to be making connections. We asked, even some simple things about finding an agent in the first place. A third of all recent sellers said picking an agent to sell my home was stressful. I would argue personally that the other 67% who said, no, it's not stressful, probably should have been stressed. People don't take, and we've learned this through lots of research over the years, people don't take the choice of a realtor seriously because they don't really know what a good real estate professional does and how real estate agents are differentiated. So you see this quite clearly when we asked the third of people who were stressed about picking somebody, well, why did you find it stressful? Look at that. 30% said all real estate agents seem the same to me. 47% said I wasn't really sure what to look for in an agent. Now, this is a failing of us as an industry. The fact that people are saying all agents seem the same and that I wasn't even sure what to look for, that's on us. And you heard a lot last year on the buy side in particular about showing our value. We did okay around that, but we're still missing the mark. People don't know what makes a great realtor a great realtor, what makes a great real estate company a great real estate company. It is therefore our job, your job, to fill that void. And to the extent that you do, you are helping people in a way that they need help. Lastly, there are moments in the seller journey that we identified as being really critical and presenting opportunities. So we asked folks, again, 1,000 recent sellers nationwide, was your real estate agent there for move day? Almost 60% said no. But of those who said my agent was there on move day, how did that make you feel? I appreciated this a lot. So what we see here is that 60% of listing agents are missing an opportunity to create a real emotional impact with their clients. We talked with individual consumers about this moment, and this was such a powerful moment that almost 2/3 of listing agents miss. So when you look at what motivates people emotionally, you uncover opportunities. Okay, so what do we do about this? This is the important part. It's great to have this information. We listen, but what do we do about it? How do we think and act? Well, as I suggested, if you can get ahead of known points of pain and anxiety and stress for your client, and then say, this is where you can expect this process to be challenging, and here's how I am prepared to help you address those moments, then you're winning. So one thing that we don't do a lot, because we're always afraid of scaring clients, which is the wrong way to think about this, because acknowledging somebody's anxiety and stress is how you bring people closer to you. Why wouldn't we, in our listing presentation, include something like this? where we have an emotional timeline of the selling process, where your agents can sit in a living room and say, look, this is a complicated transaction. I think you feel that. And here's how it's going to flow for you. And here's where typically I have found my clients get a little bit stressed out. You can see here, pricing is tough. Okay, then you're listed, you're live. That feels good. Well, inspections and appraisals, it spikes. Negotiations, are tough. When anxiety hits, I manage it for you. Here's the problem that you're going to feel. Here's how I address it. That's called value articulation. So if we know, as we do, that most sellers think, geez, all realtors look the same to me, and I really don't even know what a great listing agent is. I don't even know what to look for. Then one way to address that, if you have a differentiated or really good process for selling a home at your company, is to productize your process. People don't understand abstract concepts, and you can't bring people through a lengthy process without losing touch. So what productizing your process means, for example, is think about your listing presentation. You do this, pricing, marketing, home for sale, the whole, listing presentation mantra. And I've seen hundreds, if not thousands, of listing presentations, and they kind of blur together. Productize your process. Call it something, brand it. Here, sometimes in these mock-ups, we use this fictitious brokerage, ABC Realty. ABC Realty has the smooth sale blueprint that does 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to ensure that your anxieties about timing, about pricing, about negotiation are addressed up front. Think about a branded process that will help you stand out. Now, if we know what people are worried about, people who are out there thinking of selling but haven't yet raised their hand, and we want to connect with those people, well, how do we show that those people in the market that we want to do business with, that we get them, that we understand them, that we see what they're worried about? Well, maybe we consider messaging and marketing like this. And this is, we do these same sort of generic mock-ups. Here, it's an Instagram post or an Instagram ad, right? Where we proactively address the things we know that people are worried about. What if I don't get the price I want? Our approach, 3-step process that uses both data and analysis and boots on the ground experience to price your home for maximum value. What if it takes too long to sell? Our approach, our marketing system, drives maximum interest while we network with agents working with active buyers. What if the buyer backs out? Our approach, an offer isn't just about price. We vet offers to minimize the likelihood of buyer issues. You see the point. And it's going to be different for all of you because you all have different companies in different parts of the state. Speak to the anxiety that you know exists. So you see a lot of messaging in real estate. I've seen more than my share of this, where a practitioner or a company, you see a lot of this type of messaging from real estate tech companies. We make the home sale process easy. Well, that's a bad way to approach this, because what your client knows is that that's BS. They know it's not easy because even though they haven't signed a listing agreement, they're scared. They know it's not going to be easy. So when you tell them that you're going to make it easy, they're not going to believe you. So what you first need to do is to acknowledge what people feel in their heart, the truth. Selling your home isn't easy. Okay, thank you. It's hard, but our job is to make it happen on the best possible terms. See how we do it at ABC Homes. You understand that? Connection, value proposition, call to action. Again, this messaging can be done anywhere. You do direct mail, you do social, whatever it is, right? It's not just you. It is a little scary. Selling your home is complicated. Time, money, negotiations. It's why we're here. The case for value, to get you through it as successfully as possible. Inspections, showings, negotiations, paperwork. Let the fun begin. Selling your home isn't simple but we'll make sure it's successful for you, because complicated things are what we handle. There are things to worry about in your home sale. Your agent shouldn't be one of them. Selling your home isn't simple, but we'll make sure it's successful. Again, you see the formula here. Okay, now just quickly, let's see how we might apply this same approach of listening, then acting in our marketing on what we hear with buyers. So this is from a study we did in the spring with young adults who have not yet bought a home, but want to. And so first of all, I'll say this, 93% of these young people, Gen Z and millennial folks who are either living at home with family or renting, 93%, despite all of the obstacles in their way, and all the coverage about how hard it is to buy a home, 93% said, I want home ownership a lot. Okay. So isn't that the greatest news ever? People want what we're selling. So let's see what these young aspiring homeowners told us. Well, when we unpacked sort of their motivations, what was really interesting is that financial considerations were at the bottom of the list. There were some people who said, yes, I view it as a good investment over the long term. I want to build generational wealth. I think we all know and appreciate the financial benefits of home ownership. But what was at the top of the list, and this one was at the very top, is this sense of autonomy, independence, freedom, identity. Again, emotional stuff is what drives these young aspiring home buyers. Number one reason for wanting to buy a home, I want my own place that I can change how I want. So sellers identified their home very much with their own identity. And you see this on the flip side, the mirror image on aspiring home buyers. So what do? How might you approach marketing to young prospective buyers a little bit differently from every other real estate company in town? So I don't know, maybe you do advertising in magazines, maybe you don't. You get the idea. So here's our made up real estate company, and the ad is pick your own wall colors, nail holes wherever you want, change tile just because, have loud friends over, let the grass grow, plant tomatoes if you feel like it. We're ready when you're ready. So you're speaking here to the aspiration. 2 words for everyone who ever said you couldn't do what you wanted. My house. Buying a home is scary, but just think of the satisfaction when you finally get to say, get off my lawn. Now, again, I don't know your individual company brands and what your tone is, but I think you get the idea here. Okay, we asked people who had actually bought, and this was from a different study, people who had bought recently in the last 5 years, hey, what do you think is the most valuable service that the agent who helped you buy your home provided? Now, what you'll notice here is that darn near towards the bottom at under 10% was finding homes. People don't hire buyer's agents to buy them homes. That ship sailed about 20 years ago. People are going to go on Zillow anyway. They're going to go on Realtor anywhere, homes.com, wherever, okay? Yet too much Realtor marketing on the buy side is about finding a home for somebody. That's not really the problem most buyers want you to solve. The biggest value driver on the buy side for these recent buyers was interpreting inspections and disclosure reports about properties and noting potential issues. So, okay, we listen here. How do we think about that? What are these recent buyers really saying to us? What they're saying is, my agent helped me not screw this up. This is the biggest transaction emotionally and financially of my entire life. And this professional helped me not botch it, because if I botch it, it has massive consequences for my bank account and my family. So if we know that that's what most recent buyers value the most, lean into that in your marketing. But here again is an example of how this might come to life. Just example Instagram ads, because Zillow won't tell you about the bad wiring. A home is a big picture. It's our job to make sure you get it right. We know all the things sellers wished you didn't know and all the information you'll never find online. Don't hire us to find you a home. Sometimes you want to say things that are a little bit scary to say, because what you're trying to do with your marketing, your messaging is to break through, not blend in. You're trying to interrupt the pattern of bad real estate marketing. Don't hire us to find you a home. There are apps for that. It's true. Hire us to scrutinize the home and weigh the pros and cons. Our knowledge will save you money, save your sanity, and give you confidence. Dream home, nightmare home. It's our job to spot the difference. We decipher disclosure docs, read between the lines of inspection reports, and understand every city ordinance you never knew existed. Also, you can buy a home with confidence. Everything that can go wrong won't go wrong. That's our law with home buyers. You get the idea. Okay, that's a really quick run through of what I'm talking about. If you want more of our type of thinking, we have a free newsletter, goes out every Tuesday, called The Dose. That's what the QR code is for. It's free, and you just get more thought-provoking stuff around real estate marketing, messaging, branding, etc.
Wow, I think the insights you've shared today have been very helpful and very enlightening. And to all the brokers in charge that have participated, thanks again. And so, with that, I am going to bring us to the end of our session. Again, on behalf of SCR, Brian, thank you for sharing your invaluable expertise with all of us. And thank you to all of our brokers in charge for your time and engagement. Keep an eye on your inbox. We'll have a follow-up email with the recording, with the slides. Again, we appreciate your leadership and look forward to seeing you at our next Broker in Charge webinar. Everybody have a great rest of your day. Brian, thank you again.
Thank you.